Hi Flosstube, it's Lori of Mischievous Stitches. It is Sunday, June the 4th, and I'm back again this weekend to show you updates and a few purchases, and let me get to it. This is my Speak to the Earth sampler that I'm working on right now. I'm not moving along on this as quickly as I would like or as I normally do, but I'm struggling once again with my stitches. You know, this pattern calls for 3. This is on 32 count, and it calls for 3 strands over 2. And of course, that just is too bulky for me. I'm doing 2 over 2, and I've stitched on 36 count, 40 count so much recently that I'm just struggling with the way my threads are laying. I normally railroad my stitches when I stitch with over 2 strands, but it's just not, they're puckering, and when you got a dark color up next to a light color, the corners just, anyway, I'm struggling, but I'm pushing through, and I think it's just, like I said, because I've been stitching with 1 strand over 1 or 1 over 2 for the past few months, and I think that's part of it. I think my OCD is kicked in overdrive. But I did want to show you a couple things. Hold on, I just dropped some of them in the floor. There are a couple thrift shops in the town that I work, and I walk in them on my lunch break every now and then just to see what's in there, and usually I walk in and walk right back out empty-handed. But this week, I met my friend Dawn, I'm going to call her the new stitcher. I met my friend Dawn in town for lunch. She drove up, and we stopped in one of the secondhand bookshops. I knew that there were cross-stitch items there, magazines, some old patterns, really old magazines. Well, not really old because, you know, they're still younger than me, but from the 80s, early 90s, mid-90s. And I wanted to show them to her because right now she has no cross-stitch pattern library. And I thought she would be able to find a few things there, which she did. And of course I did as well, because since the last time I have looked, which has been over 6 months ago, they've got a few new things. So I got 4 books. And I'm getting it mixed up. What it is I went in, there's 2 shops. One's a thrift shop, one is a bookstore, and I went into both this week, so I've got them all mixed up. I'm just going to show you everything at the same time instead of trying to separate it. I did buy this magazine, Leisure Arts. It is from '94, originally $4. I paid 50 cents for this, and I bought it for this one here. This is a Just Cross Stitch from 1987. And I bought this one for the Pledge of Allegiance there on the front. And of course I plan to change the colors to mute them down a little bit, but I really like that. You know, I don't know if they do it in the high schools or in the schools now, the school system. But I know when I was coming up, every morning we said the pledge. When we got to school, the morning announcements would come on right at 8, and we would first thing stand up as a class in every class and cite the Pledge of Allegiance as well as our state pledge. I don't know if they even do that anymore. I know on the radio stations here sometimes in the Georgia schools you will hear it, you know, the radio stations will be in with some of the classes and they will recite the pledge with it sounds like elementary students. But anyway, just something I was thinking of. I found another Pat Rogers, you know, my tapestry sampler I recently finished. This is another sampler by Pat Rogers, and I picked that one up, 50 cents. And I got this, which is Poinsettias, a Floral Study by Leisure Arts, 50 cents again. Love the colors. They're more pink tones than red tones, and at Christmas, I love to fill my home with potted poinsettias, and this is usually the color I go for, the light pink or either the white. This is my favorite of the 50-cent patterns that I picked up that got me into a little bit of trouble. I love the scene. But so I come home and I have to look up the designer. Don't see anything. So I look up the distributor, not the distributor, but the company that is listed here, JCA Incorporated. I've got several things on the way to me off of eBay. So one thing always leads to another, doesn't it? I'm not going to show you everything that's inside the books. I did pick up this one as well. This one was $1.50 and it's from, I don't see the year on it. Just says March 29th. It looks like maybe the mid-90s. Cross stitch sampler. I don't remember the pattern inside that made me pick it up. And after doing the By the Bay sampler, reading the book about Rufus Porter, who is responsible for many murals in New England, I picked up Jackie's freehanding seminar for painting, folk art painting. I may or may not get around to that sometime soon, but I wanted to have it. And I bought the sampler book. It was $1. Has several patterns inside. What made me buy it is not for the patterns, but for the listing of the different types of stitches. There's many specialty stitches in here, and it shows you step by step how to stitch those specialty stitches. So I thought that would be for $1. It would be great to have it on hand. One of my favorite pattern finds of this week, this plastic sheet. This was 50 cents. But what got me is, see this? The local shop that we had here closed, and they had a couple of these designs stitched up on the wall. And they are great designs. They stitch up wonderfully. Kind of simple, not a lot of colors. But what got me is there's 4 of them, and they were all in here. So basically, I got these for $1. So I'm looking forward to stitching this one. And then I think I also enjoyed this one. I want to change the colors. I don't know that I will go with these pinks and teals, which were 90s colors, but we'll see what I end up doing. But I'm happy to have these because I could not remember the designer, and this is Canterbury Designs, and the reason that I could not find them or remember is because it's a local to us designer, Martinez, Georgia. I don't even know if Canterbury Designs is still designing, but, and the funny thing is I used to work in that post office, so anyway, I got those. The other wonderful ones that I got was 3 leisure art books for $1 a piece. I did mark a couple of the designs to show you, but I got Santa Remembered, Christmas Portraits, and Sweeter Than the Rose. Now, there's only maybe 1 or 2 in each one that I really like that I may or may not stitch. There was one other that was, I think it was Holidays Remembered, and Dawn was with me, and she really liked that one, and I did too, because I tend to go towards fall designs. But once again, I knew that I could jump on eBay, and before we even left that secondhand bookstore, I pulled out my phone and took a, scanned the barcode and had placed my order. So I did pay more than $1 for it, but at the price I paid even on eBay, it was a steal. So this is from Santa Remembered, and you've got the Santa, and this one here. This is the one that I bought this book for. I really like this one. And all these patterns are based off of old postcards or Christmas cards, the designs. And this is Christmas Portraits. And of course, being a postal employee, I had to have this one. And what's so great about a lot of the designs in this book is you can see these stitches in the back are all half stitches, So one leg of the cross, and so it adds dimension to the picture, but it's, you know, it's just background, and I just like the look of that. So all of them are like that. The same here, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, and once again those half stitches, and not so much the Santa here, but I love that deer in the background. He makes that picture. What else? And this one. I think a lot of the reason that I'm drawn to these pictures is just the colors. I like the more, I like jewel tones, but I like the more muted jewel tones as well. I don't normally stitch with bright colors as these, but you know, when you like a pattern though, you like it, whether it's not your typical choices or not. This one, this is the Sweeter Than the Rose. There's not many in here that I do like, but I did want to show you, this is from the 90s, and look again, not only is it those teals and pinks, mauves, but it's another band sampler. So I was showing you a couple of videos back where you do the cut work in the bands and then reweaving the threads to the edges and using pearl cottons or DMC to weave the remaining vertical threads. There's several of those in here, which is why I picked it up. Other than that, I know there's been, I can't remember the Flosstuber that had mentioned that we show some of the other things we do other than cross stitch. So last year I have 3 really good friends, Kendra, Karen, and Dawn, and we got together. We all have children the same age, and you know, there's that spot in life where there's football games and basketball games and club meetings, and so you're working and coming home and you're doing good to get a meal because you're running kids everywhere. And so during those times in our lives, we saw very little of each other, and we had made a agreement that we would get together last year and the year before at least once a month. And what ended up happening is whoever was, you know, was hosting the get-together got to choose what we did that day, whether it was, we love to play games together, but whether it was playing games or crafting or stitching or whatever, and what that turned into is, I'm interested in this, let's do this when we come to our house. So we started canning and baking homemade breads, and we made wreaths, and we started quilting. So last year, I think I have 2 more quilt squares, but we all decided to each make a quilt square for all 4 of us that month. And you know, we did that, but other things. And this is one of the ones, quilt tops. I've not finished quilting it, and it's just a wall hanging. But this is my second. I did one other wall hanging. I've not done an actual quilt. I take that back. I did a quilt for my grandson's first, you know, for his room before he was born. But this is the only other one that I have done, and it was easy because to me it's like a pixel top. So I'm going to show it to you. Can you see that? I had never quilted before. I did not even sew. So I get on YouTube. This was before I found Flosstube, and I found Miss Jenny of Missouri Star Quilt Company, which that is now on my bucket list. I really want to go to that town and visit all those quilt shops. But Jenny at Missouri Star Quilt Company, she does all kind of cool things with, and she made it so easy. But this pattern was on a Facebook group, not the pattern, but the top. And I saw the picture and knew that it's just squares and half squares. I could do it, and I did it. And I can't wait to put it together when I get my room finished. It'll afford me the room to actually finish quilting this up. And so I can display it in the wintertime and at Christmas. So that's one of the things I do. I also mentioned too that I really enjoy canning, so I've not done any canning this summer so far, but I'm really looking forward to doing another batch of strawberry rhubarb jam, which I did last year for the first time. And I love knowing what's going into my food items, that it's fruit that I have picked or that is grown locally, and I have cooked it, and I have chosen the ingredients, and I have washed them and I have prepared them. And the thing was, last year I had, you fill the jars and you may have a partial jar left over, and that's what I had. I put it in the fridge, and the strawberry rhubarb jam was delicious. I go to get another jar, and I had gifted all of those other jars away. So all I had was the partial jar from the leftover from the batch that I had made. But anyway, so I look forward to making some of that soon. And I feel like I've really rambled today, but just in great spirits. Thanks everyone who reached out and left such kind comments last weekend. I was really struggling last weekend, trying to keep it under control. But thanks for your comments and reaching out. I do appreciate it more than you know. This weekend has been just much better. Lots of joy. My son graduated Thursday night from high school. Yesterday I had my grandson. He stayed over with me Friday night, and there's nothing better than snuggling up to a sleeping little one like that. So I just spent the day sitting in the floor playing with him, rolling a ball, just enjoying that little one. So anyway, everyone have a great rest of the weekend. I will see you back next weekend. And just so you know, I've hit 1,500 subscribers. I can't believe it. So I will be doing another giveaway, but I need to give some thought as to what I'm going to be doing. I will talk more about that next weekend. And until then, hugs and stitches. Bye-bye.